Jody, you just released this annual travel survey, and I was scrolling through it this morning. There's a lot of interesting information there. It seems like people are curtailing travel, but only in certain sectors, like more domestic than overseas. Is that financial? Is that security reasons? And what are the numbers that you're seeing?
So I think it's really interesting. So just taking a step back, our travel survey, we do it every April and November. This is our 6th one that we've done. And we poll people and we say, okay, is vacation a priority? Or what are your priorities?
Yeah.
And out of the 3,100 or so people that responded, 1,000 said vacation's a priority. Once that's true, then we ask them a ton of vacation questions. Obviously, if they're not traveling, we don't care.
Sure.
They're not going to have preference on Delta over United. So what we found in April, which is so interesting, and mind you, we did this right before hantavirus, right before Ebola, so it's not related to health scares that are, circulating at the moment, is that people are still traveling, very much so, still traveling, and people are planning already to increase their budgets should cost exceed them. So they're saying, okay, I know that inflation exists. 56% of people said inflation exists. I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
I'm scared about inflation. That's the reason why I'm increasing more. But 24% already increased significantly going into this year, already increased significantly from the start of the year. So that's pretty substantial.
Yeah.
Are they making difficult decisions about how they're getting to one place or another? We had somebody on yesterday, we were talking about that age-old calculus, do I drive or do I fly? Is that being thrown out of whack because of the rising cost of both fuel for the car and fuel for planes?
A little bit,
Yeah.
David, but I will say that more so it's the quality. So people want to spend more on accommodations. They want to live large with accommodations. They want to live large with premium and business class travel.
This is Christina's story completely.
But here
They just keep making fun of me because I like fancy travel and I'm too cheap to spend it, so I end up just staying here, is what ends up happening.
Well,
I'm not one of the people who will spend it, but it sounds like people will.
Well, I don't think you're unusual there. So I will tell you that despite the fact that people want to go and they want, that first class experience, they want that nice, fancy Waldorf Astoria
100%.
experience, they're also saying that they can't necessarily spend that kind of money. So they're willing to cut back on accommodations and they're willing to cut back on business travel. And so while they want to spend on the high-end hotel, they might settle for the mid-level hotel, which is interesting because my colleague Brian Egger on the equity side has written something similar related to the C-shaped economy, which is something that Hilton said.
I was just going to ask you if this is a K-shaped travel economy. All right, so tell me about a new letter. Why is it a C-shape?
Right, exactly. Why is it a C-shape? Right. So I like the K-shape better. I think it's a little more understandable, but the concept of the C-shape is that people are trading down. So they're like gradually trading down to mid-tier. I think probably that upper echelon, there's no C there.
Probably like a straight line there. But
yeah. There's maybe a double C or something. I don't know.
So who is benefiting from what you're seeing, these trends? Is it a certain hotel chain, a certain airline? Especially if you're cutting back overseas travel, I imagine that benefits some airlines more than others.
Right. So I think the major airlines are still going to do well. My colleagues in Princeton and I, so George Ferguson and Francois Duflot, we've been working together on this, and something that we've seen is that people are still willing to use the majors. And, and they're benefiting from the fact that higher income earners are still very much traveling. There is a dichotomy in that K-shape, right? And so what we're seeing is that high income earners are still willing to travel. They might not travel as fancy, but they're still willing to travel, and they're also more loyal to some of these brands. So you will see that the Marriotts, the Hiltons, the Hyatts, the Delta, the United, and the American might do a little bit better than some of these other lower tier, second level brands.
Interesting.
Do we have any sense of how long this commitment to traveling will last? I think of the survey that we got on Friday, the University of Michigan survey, showing consumer sentiment at this really low point in a trough. And it just made me wonder, how long can this continue? Yes, we're seeing consumers feeling the pressure of inflation, moving things around as you've suggested. I'm prioritizing this or that. I'm going to do more of this or less of that. Is there a point at which people will say, enough's enough, I'm not going to do this? Or are we not there yet? Are they not getting themselves to that point at which they'll say, I can't afford to travel, I'm not going to do it?
So, David, every time we run the survey, I wonder if we're going to finally
if we're there.
if we're going to see the end of the consumer, right? So we had the revenge travel, right? Revenge spending right before COVID, right after COVID, right?
Yeah.
And it was this giant boom. And then we said, okay, that can't live forever. And we are seeing some areas of weakness, like in regional theme parks and some of the destination destination theme parks as well. We're not seeing the weakness in cruise lines so much. That's been very surprising, despite everything going on in the world, despite the Middle East, despite health scares back and forth, despite other wars that have happened.
Prices going up because of fuel and everything
exactly.
else.
And prices going up. And it's not like the cruise lines aren't charging more, because they are starting to do a little bit more of the a la carte, which is basically nickel and diming, right? So you don't get, on most cruise lines, you don't get, soft drinks for free. You also have to pay for the excursions. You have to pay for all the
Diet
extras.
Coke?
Yeah, not on Disney, actually. Fun fact.
All right, good to know.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that struck me is you found that 76% of those surveyed, Diet Coke, we were talking about this yesterday. It's like the only thing that all of us will drink is Diet Coke.
Make your travel decisions based
Not
on
Coke
it.
Zero?
Yeah, no.
I'm not getting into that. Okay, but to put a point on everything you've been talking about very quickly, because I'm getting told we're running out of time, but 76% of those surveyed said spending on travel is more important than spending on clothing.
Correct. People are just going to go, I guess, to the nude beaches. I don't know.
There you go.
No, I'm just kidding.
That's it.
It's more that people care about actually going and traveling. And I think people are also not spending on clothing the same way, right? So they're buying secondhand. They're looking at different ways to cut back so that they can have the Instagrammable photos, right?
I guess you can't secondhand.
She's got your
travel.
number. The Diet Coke, the
Don't
Disney
stop,
cruise, the Instagrammable photos.